Russia invaded Ukraine in late February, experts have warned that there could be supply issues for items, such as sunflower oil and flour, and that consumer prices will rise. Now it has advanced to tissue paper, soft drinks, spaghetti, noodles, and so many more items lacking in supermarkets. There have been panic buying for some time and more empty shelves continue to emerge. At first, supermarkets noticed an increased demand for cooking oils, and introduced measures such as temporarily restricting sales to 1 or 2 bottles per customer, but now, there are no more cooking oils to sell. Sunflower oil shortage in Germany. Ukraine is the most important supplier country for the product. There is currently no replenishment. ALDI is now taking action and rationing its cooking oil sales per household. Many customers have certainly noticed. In many German markets in Germany, the shelves for cooking oil are clearing out. German consumers will be forced to find alternatives to sunflower oil. Sunflower oil has become scarce in Germany in a few weeks because of the Ukraine war. This is no longer an assumption but rather a reality. The earlier supplies seem to have been exhausted. There is currently no supply from Ukraine, the most important supplier of sunflower oil. However, consumers could easily switch to other edible oils such as rapeseed oil. No bottlenecks are to be expected here. Ukraine and Russia are the main export countries for sunflower oil across the country. Industrial sectors including manufacturing and steel and chemical production are being forced to idle plants and furlough workers, some of whom only recently returned after coronavirus-related shutdowns. The moves are driving fears that the longer the war continues, the more it could upend Germany's globalized, export-focused economy. As the effect of punitive sanctions by the West rise, pharmacies in Russia are running out of essential medicines. Prices have increased by up to 20% as people rush to stock up amid dwindling supplies. Against the backdrop of sanctions and the withdrawal of foreign companies from Russia, many people began to stock up on essential items like sugar and flour. Now, Russians are lining up outside pharmacies, which are running out of essential medications to treat hormonal diseases. Prices of medicines have shot up by up to 20% in the last month. Although most international pharmaceutical companies have not officially announced a total suspension of supplies to Russia, some corporations, like U.S. drug maker Lilly, have decided to scale back their business and limit supply to medications needed for urgent medical conditions such as cancer and diabetes. All other sales of what it called non-essential medicines will be suspended. Similar steps were taken by Swiss pharmaceutical giant Novartis and French firm Sanofi, which have decided to stop advertising in Russia and terminate any new enrollment of patients for ongoing clinical trials in the country. In a statement published on March 23, the company pointed out that it will not stop supplying life-saving medicines and vaccines to Russia. Why the shortage? The main reason for the current medications crisis is that punitive sanctions have cut off Russian banks from the international financial system, leaving pharmacies in the country unable to pay for the deliveries. The Russian newspaper Vedomosti reported that Russian doctors are faced with a shortage of more than 80 drugs, citing a survey of 3,317 doctors by members of the Vrchi RF professional community. Prices of 800 essential medicines, including paracetamol, set to rise by 10.7% from April. Prices of 800 essential medicines, including paracetamol, set to rise by 10.7% from April. Doctors spoke about problems with anti-inflammatory, children's Nurofen, gastroenterological, Ursofoc, anti-epileptic, anticonvulsant drugs Finlepsin, Depakine, as well as antidepressants Paroxetine, Anafranil, and antipsychotics Risperdal, the newspaper reported. We walked through pharmacies in the heart of Moscow, only to find that some essential medications mentioned in the Vedomosti publication were indeed out of stock. Websites of pharmacies also indicate that these medications are not available. With supplies scarce, pharmacies have imposed strict rules for sales, only 1 pack per person. Sourcing drugs from Belarus. People with diabetes were the first to be alarmed since pharmacies are running out of insulin, which is vital for diabetics. Switching from one insulin to another is a complex process that involves redosing. This can be frightening for patients. It is almost impossible to find L-thyroxine and Euthyrox. These drugs, essential for people with hypothyroidism, must be taken daily. They cost around 100 to 200 rubles, which is roughly $1 to $2 depending on the dosage. Euthyrox is produced by the German company Merck, and L-thyroxine is produced by the German division of Berlin Chemie Menarini. There is an analog in Russia, but many patients prefer imported medicines. L-thyroxine is currently out of stock in online pharmacies. Some people waiting in queues told us that they were desperately searching for these medications in neighboring regions and even in the far east of Russia. Some were trying to find and deliver Euthyrox from Belarus and Georgia. Vyacheslav, who is a designer in Moscow, told newsmen that he has been searching for Euthyrox or its substitute L-thyroxine for nearly 2 weeks. The medication is needed for his grandma who is suffering from thyroid disease. I checked in multiple pharmacies, but all of them were out, or you needed to know the exact time when the pills would arrive. I tried to reserve it online to pick it up in the store, but all of my orders were cancelled by the pharmacies, Vyacheslav said. Fortunately, he was able to get 2 packs, one from a pharmacy online, and another from a colleague who went to Minsk, in Belarus, and bought a couple of packs there. There is no shortage of medication in cancer treatment, sources told newsmen. None of the international pharmaceutical companies have suspended deliveries of essential drugs to treat oncohematological diseases. No need to make reserves. The rise in prices of medicines, as well as their temporary absence in pharmacies, is most often associated with increased demand. On March 21, this was stated by Deputy Minister of Health Sergei Glagalev. The Ministry of Health has contracted about 85% of medicines purchased through centralized mechanisms. Head of the ministry Mikhail Moroshko said that there are no problems with the production and supply of drugs. A monitoring system has been created by the ministry to solve emerging problems of manufacturers and distributors of medicines and medical devices, officials reported.